All right, so now let's talk about developing marketing strategies. We've already done the situation analysis. We've already set goals based on the situation. Now we come to strategy development. The elements of the strategy and development include an overall strategic approach, positioning, target markets, the 4 Ps, services, and experiences. These are all elements of developing a strategy. Now, a strategy is the approach used to obtain a goal or an objective. The essence of strategy is to fit, select, discover, or create the appropriate approach to reach a goal or an objective. As such, strategies are goal or objective specific. Strategy that works in one situation will not work in another if, in fact, they have different situations involved with them. The essence of developing a strategy: one tries to make plans fit the circumstances, and a good marketing strategy is one that anticipates the competition's counterattacks and provides for ways to address them. We always talk about strategy and tactics. We say, and of course, strategy is an overarching approach to solving a problem or reaching a goal or an objective. Tactics are the specific action plans that allow us to reach that strategy. So, for example, when I was coaching college football, we might play against a team and we would decide that the best way to beat this team is to pass against them. So our strategy was to have a passing attack that was going to be our primary offensive approach to scoring against them. Now, the tactics are the specific passing plays that we intended to use to be successful. So the strategy was to pass against the team. The tactics were the specific pass plays that we would think would be the most successful against them, given the situation in terms of what their defense lined up in. Now, which comes first, strategy or tactics? Does strategy follow tactics, or do tactics follow strategy? The obvious response to this is, of course, tactics follow strategy. You come up with a strategy, and then you determine which tactics are best for that strategy. And certainly that is the case. But also understand that strategy follows tactics. If there are certain things that we're very good at, certain tactical things that we're very good at, for instance, we've got a great quarterback that can really throw passes, then our strategy is almost always going to include taking advantage of that skill set. And so we are going to develop a strategy based on the tactics that we're really good at. So strategy follows tactics, and tactics follows strategy. Both are true. Of course, once again, at any given point in time, one objective must dominate the company's strategic plan. And that's whether it's a business plan or a marketing plan. For a strategy to be workable and successful, it must satisfy 3 requirements. It must help achieve coordination. That means, of course, that it has to help us develop how things are going to fit together and how we're going to make a coordinated effort to be successful. It must help us define how to allocate resources. That is, it will tell us how to take those scarce resources that we have and best allocate them to be successful. And third, it must lead to a superior market position. That is, it must be something that the competitor cannot do or would choose not to do, or that we can do better than the competition anyway. So once again, let's go back and look at the 5 elements that are specific to strategy selection. It's the objectives, it's the situation, it's the generic strategy, that is our generic competitive approach, cost leadership, differentiation, or focus. It's also positioning. What is our unique selling proposition? How are we going to position our product? And then, of course, it is the target markets. So let's talk about the strategic process. Well, we always argue that this is a stepped process, and we should start by listing the 5 pieces we discussed earlier. What are our objectives? What are we trying to accomplish? What are our strengths and weaknesses? What are the opportunities and threats? What is our generic approach going to be? What position are we trying to establish, and who is it that we're going to try to market to? First, consider the objectives. The organization's objectives frame the potential strategic alternatives. Then consider the SWOT. What is it that are our strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats that create constraints and also establish the direction for us to look at for our alternative marketing strategies. The generic strategy determination uses the SWOT to determine which strategic approach makes the most sense for us, whether it's differentiation, focus, or cost leadership. The generic strategy is then clearly specified in terms of the unique selling proposition or reason to buy. This helps become our position. And of course, the final step in this process is the determination of the target market. Who are we going to sell our product to? Who are we going to target for acquisitions and retention? While we always present the process as a set of steps, it typically is not really a set of steps. It's much more dynamic than that. In many cases, the strategy is developed by exploring alternatives, matching them up with objectives in the SWOT, then modifying them to best fit the situation. And so the process is more iterative and more dynamic than simply a stepped process. And this will be important when you're doing your project. So in summary, the keys to developing winning strategies: knowledge of the market, customers, and competition, understanding your core competencies, understanding what you're good at and what you're not good at, playing on your strengths, avoiding your weaknesses, maintaining vigilance, monitor, forecast, and adapt to the situation as it evolves, focus on relationships, and of course, involve everyone in the organization in developing the strategy so they all have a sense of ownership and are all pulling in the same direction to be successful.